In this video, we're going to go into legato, because there seems to be a few particular misconceptions about what is and is not legato and what that word actually means. So let's start with the word. The word legato comes from an Italian word that basically means tied together. It doesn't refer to a specific technique on any particular instrument, and in fact every instrument is capable of doing legato lines, actual tied together melodies. What the word refers to is the way that the melody flows fluidly from one note to the next. It refers to not sharp attacks. Okay? It doesn't have anything to do with hammer-ons and pull-offs, although as guitarists we often encounter this word to be synonymous with lots of hammer-ons and pull-offs, because ultimately those are the two main tools as plucked string instrument players that we have at our disposal to create that effect. But there are ways to do those techniques that are not legato. Okay, so if you lose the smooth tied together element of legato by doing them, then you need to take a look at how you're achieving your hammer-ons and pull-offs, how you're actually executing those techniques. Okay, so let's go into a little bit of that for guitar players really quick, because this is one of the things that I address with beginners on either the first or second lesson, how to do a hammer-on and how a pull-off is not a backwards hammer-on. Okay, so a hammer-on is aptly named. You are striking the string from one note to another. You're striking the string into contact with the fret wire, or if you're on a fretless instrument, just into contact with the fingerboard. Since I have frets, we'll just call it the fret. All right, when you pull off, you are not just lifting your finger hoping for a lucky accident. You are, in fact, plucking. And when I teach beginners this, I do make it audible that, you know, taking the amp out of the equation right now, you can hear that sharp metallic sound of my finger pulling the string and plucking it as it leaves. That should not be the point when you stop learning how to have control of your pull-offs. That's just the introduction to it, however. So if you do pull-offs like that, you're right, that's not going to be legato. But the misconception arises that pull-offs change the tone of your playing and therefore are not legato. And to that I would have to say, if your pull-offs change the tone of your playing so much that it's no longer legato, you need to really address how you're executing your pull-offs, because merely plucking should not be all at the same volume. That's the same applies to your picking technique. There should be some dynamics. Don't forget dynamics. Your pull-offs need to be able to be done effectively and reliably at the same volume as the softest hammer-ons. Okay, you need to be able to do a hammer-on a little bit louder to achieve the slight accent so that the melody isn't lost. It at no point with whether you're doing staccato, just normal playing, or whatever, you need to be able to have control of the volume from one note to the next. So there are subtle amounts of accenting all the time, whether you're trying to do staccato, legato, or anything in between those two extremes of the spectrum. Okay, dynamics is always there, but a lot of people don't ever get to the point where either their teacher is focusing on it, or it doesn't occur to them to think about it themselves, if they're self-taught, and you don't really hear a lot about it on like forums, on like guitar forums or Facebook groups or anything like that. I almost never see anybody talk about dynamics, and it's unfortunate because if you don't consider your dynamics, yeah, your pull-offs probably aren't going to be legato. But legato, once again, really does not refer to hammer-ons and pull-offs. The word has nothing whatsoever to do with that. In fact, the practice of playing legato melodies far predates the existence of the guitar at all. It really just refers to the way that the melody flows smoothly from one note to the next. It is a melodic device, not a physical, mechanical technique on a given instrument. And therefore, every instrument has its own particular set of techniques with which to achieve that musical effect. So with flutes, you continuously blow into the flute and press different notes, and they all flow together that way. On a stringed bowed instrument, you use one bowing motion and basically finger multiple notes on the neck. On the piano, I'm not a pianist, but there's a specific technique or set of techniques for that as well. And I've seen the keyboardists in my past bands do it really well. There is a certain technique for it, and you can't think that it means a pull-off or a hammer-on, because there's nothing from which or to which to hammer on or pull off on those instruments. But there is still a set of mechanical ways to play that instrument that allow you to achieve that legato effect. Even the human voice, just to give you an example, because Chopin did not invent this either, as one particular video claims. it far predates Chopin as well. In fact, the monks who invented music notation 1,000 years ago were singing legato lines. The difference would be where you can clearly hear the exact beginning of each note, versus legato. You're flowing back and forth between the notes. You can hear the approximate moment when the new note starts, but they just flow together. That's the idea of what legato is. It has nothing to do with hammer-ons and pull-offs. But you have to have control of your hammer-ons and pull-offs, because on the guitar, the ways to achieve legato are hammer-ons, pull-offs, tapping, which is more hammer-ons and pull-offs with the other hand, sliding, and even sweep picking to some degree. It depends on how you're doing it. If you're picking every note loudly, then you're going to lose the legato thing. You need to be able to have control with very, very whisper quiet pick strokes, because hammer-ons and pull-offs do still require you to pick once in a while, and you need to be able to use your actual pick to pluck very quietly as well, just as quietly as those hammer-ons and pull-offs. So I hope that clears things up a little bit. There's always a little grain of truth in any bit of misinformation, and when it comes to things like musical knowledge, it gets spread around so virally, so quickly, and fills people with a certain fervor to argue about splitting hairs about what is and isn't something when they don't have the full picture. And hopefully that gives you the full picture. Definitely Google this. I'm not just pulling this out of my butt right now. This is basically what legato is. It is independent of any particular instrument. It is a way that the melody flows. So what I would always suggest is, when you see an argument like that, back away and go record some music instead. Do it on the guitar. Don't argue with what other people were calling it, because that's not nearly as important as whether you can make the sounds you want on the instrument. I'm Jason at Shred Mentor Rock Guitar Academy, and rock on until next time.